Hey, Coaching You for You family, welcome back. My name is Annette, and I am your host here tonight at Coaching You for You. We are also streaming live at the Black Girls Locker Room. You can quote me on this and YouTube, as well as Women Who Mean Business. So, welcome. Tonight is an exciting night for me for a number of reasons. The first of which, don't forget to hydrate. The second of which, I thought my allergies would keep me off the podcast tonight, but it hasn't. Water is good for you. I like blueberry, watermelon, lemon, mint. I like it all. And I'm grateful for the opportunity to have clean water to drink because sometimes, we take a lot of things for granted. That is a plus or a big deal for most others who can't. So, thank you for joining me this evening. Before I get started, I'd like to shout out some women in the creator circle at the conservatory. They have a list. I'll post it when this live is over to join them. They're crafting Letty Acevedo, Jessica Desmond, and Tina Dent. They're doing wonderful things. And today I shouted out some women privately and publicly, as I committed to do for the month of March. And I just want to say congratulations to all of you who were gifted today because you are gifted in many other ways. So thank you. I want to salute those men who are working on the street teams in my city and in cities near you to ensure the safety and well being of our children and women. Thank you for doing that. And it's happening in a lot of places. This is not a podcast where I typically talk about politics, but I'd like you all to pay attention to the governor in Florida because he says, woke, and I am quoting, is where Florida, Florida is where woke comes to die. Florida is where woke comes to die. Pay attention to that. I'm boycotting. I had a week-long vacation scheduled there, actually 2 weeks, and I have since revoked the privilege. I will not participate with people, places, or things who don't respect me and mine. Again, welcome back, Coaching You for You family. We are on multiple channels. And today, I want to talk to you a little bit about just life. So much happens in life. We all go through things, and a lot of people will appear as if they do not. They will act as if they do not, and they will talk as if they do not. But here's what I want you to know. Let me pull you up on this. If you're living life, if you're actually living, then you know we all go through things. We go through things with family. We go through things with friends. We go through things with foes. We go through things on our job, in our homes, with our spouses. All those perfect looking relationships out there, don't worry about them. They're living too, no matter how they behave. And some of them are having a lot of fun doing it. So kudos to them because in love is one of the best places to be in the world. But today we're talking about change. Change is coming. And I don't care who you are, I don't care where you're at. You can plan for it or not. And most times you won't because you don't know what's coming. It could be good, bad, or indifferent. But no matter what side of the tracks you fit on or sit on, and what doesn't apply, let it fly, the train is coming. You're going to get run over if you don't move. And so I wanted to talk to you a little bit tonight about, my experience, strength, and hope. And that is typically what I share about on this channel. Inspiration and my experience, strength, and hope. So come on, breathe deep and inhale some of this inspiration that I have for you tonight. My experience, strength, and hope. When change comes, here's what I want you to know for sure. I wasn't always prepared for it. Some people are. I wasn't. I wasn't prepared for the multiple changes that happened in my life. I was not prepared, although I know life happens and death happens. I was not prepared for the multiple deaths that I have encountered in my life over my lifetime that have happened to me. I wasn't prepared. I don't care how much we prepare, we can never be prepared for death. Death is never going to be okay. It's never going to be okay, except for those who are wholly saved and sanctified and perfect. But for those of us who live and have feelings and breathe and hurt, death will never be okay for us. But it's going to happen. It's a change in life that happens. We don't have to be prepared for it. I wasn't prepared for my first divorce. How you possibly, my first and only, I might add. Let's be clear. I do learn. That's right. I either lose or I learned. And in this particular situation, I learned. I wasn't prepared for that. Nor was I prepared for the marriage that I encountered in that situation either. I was young and I was dumb and I was in love and everything felt great. Put that where you can use it best. But I wasn't prepared for the divorce. I wasn't prepared when my soulmate, who I subsequently met and married, died. I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't prepared for that. That was my soulmate. We had plans. What do you mean? It's going to happen now. And there's nothing I can do about it. Yeah, I wasn't prepared. I wasn't prepared when I went to work right after college as a teacher temporarily. Kudos to teachers. I had second graders. I wasn't prepared. Those second graders set me on fire and scared me more than the birth of my child. Okay? And that's painful. Birth is painful. But change happens. It's inevitable. It happens to, with, and for all of us. And one of the I want to go over 7 things that I learned, and I made notes so that I don't get lost, because sometimes I get lost. Yeah, I do. But here's what I want you to know. I learned in the change that happened for me in divorce and failed relationships. Hey, let me add another thing. There was a horrific relationship after my soulmate died, several years, many years after he died, that I wasn't prepared for either. I want to tell you this: take your time. Everything that looks good is not good. Stop jumping into relationships. I jumped into one, almost 5 years after my husband died. Biggest mistake of my life. Yeah, one of the biggest mistakes of my life. I've had a few because I've been living, on life's terms. Some of y'all will get that on the way home. But life's going to happen no matter what you do. But one of the things I realized in all the change that I went through is that I had to keep a routine, because people say, oh, I've never had those experiences. I've never done this. I've never done that. I've never had depression. When I lost all of the people that I lost in my family, and there's more than 11, I wasn't prepared for that. And I did suffer some depression, and I needed to go to grief therapy to deal with it. And I did. And it is what I learned in therapy that got me where I am today. One of the things is I had to keep my routine if it worked for me. All of it didn't work. But for the part of my routine that worked, I had to keep one. Otherwise, when I was suffering in the change of life, as it happens, the best thing for me at the time was to stay in bed. So I had to keep some type of routine. That worked for me. It really, really worked for me. It turned it around for me because I was suffering death, bad relationships. Hey, let me pause here for a minute and talk about when you're at the office or on the job, whatever your job is, and it changes. The people who are your friends change. The employees that you work with change. Your boss changes, and not always for the better. They make your life miserable on the job. One of the places that you have to be at the most woke time of your day because you have to earn a living. Well, some of us do. Not all of us have to earn a living, but some of us have to earn a living. I had to earn a living. And I can tell you something. There were times and places and moments in my job where it was an absolute nightmare, by the way. When you see another woman suffering in any way, form, or fashion, don't make excuses and don't just stand there because today is her, tomorrow will be you. So, in your change, people, places, and things change. They change. I went back to college for homecoming several years after graduating, and I was the homecoming queen. And for some reason, I expected that what I'd remembered would still be there. It wasn't. The change was drastic. People, places, and things change. They just do. It's called life. It happens. And no, I didn't like it, but it changed. So I had to keep a routine. The second thing I had to remember was that, I needed to think about and determine how I would deal with the things that were changing in my life so rapidly. I had to reframe it, because most of the time when change happens, some of us expect that it'll, happen immediately, or it won't happen at all, or it's unexpected. We're not prepared. Whatever it is in that change of people, places, and things, one of the things that you'll come to understand is that life is going to change. And if you don't change how you think about it, when you get to that intersection in everybody's life, there's an intersection of staying the same or changing. And you have to determine where you're going to be in that. And what I can tell you for sure is if you don't do something to change in your change is going to change you, either for the good or the bad. It's going to change you. And so I just want you to know that time has a way of working things out. And if you trust yourself in it, and if you trust the process, well, actually, you don't really have a choice. You have to trust the process. You have to trust the process, and you have to be prepared to go through the process and go through the process and recognizing that change is happening and it's okay. Um, just a little bit at a time. And so, when change happens and when your life changes, perspective. Take a look at, where you are in it, the role you're playing, and what you can do to change it. I know I sound a little rough tonight, but I suffer severe allergies, as Dr. Tabitha Bellamy does. And I want you to know we do our best to get through it, but sometimes it's not always easy. So, hang in there and deal with it because it's not always easy. Do something about your allergies if you can. Number three, and this is a good one. This is a biggie. When you're in the middle of change for people, places, and things, your lover leaves, your husband leaves, your wife cheats, your husband cheats. There's destruction in the marriage or the relationship. There's destruction at work because people are misbehaving. There's destruction in your home because your family is acting absolutely insane. I know that only happens with some people's family, but the reality of it is family's going to be family no matter what. And sometimes, excuse me, in dealing with families, it's going to be difficult. And dealing with friends, it's going to be difficult. And when you come up against your foes, let me tell you something. You've never had any real challenge until you've had somebody stalk you for no reason at all. No relationship with them, no history with them, no past with them, and they stalk you. Trust me, it's a game changer. So be prepared, to just sit with yourself in whatever is happening in that people, place, or change thing and deal with it. The other thing that worked for me is something I've never done I've never done this in my life, except when traveling. I used to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning when the gym opened and I would go to the gym. So you either sit with those feelings and work them out, or you get in the gym and sweat them out. No matter how it happens, Sit with it, be with it, do something about it. When change happens, don't just stand there, do something. Because if you don't do something, change is going to do something to you. And it happens to all of us. And there's nothing you can do to change that unless you understand that life on life's terms is going to happen. Dig it or ig it, and I promise you, you're going to sit with some sweat that you didn't intend to have. Unnecessary sweat. That sweat where you can't breathe. You don't know what you're going to do next. You don't know how you're going to do it next. You don't know how you're going to make ends meet. When the change happens, if you lose your job, if you lose your business, you know, uh, when COVID happened, COVID took so many people by surprise that we didn't know whether we were heads or tails. But we got through it, didn't we? We got through a pandemic with a lot of loss and a lot of suffering and a lot of pain, and some people are still suffering. But here's what I want you to remember in this: there are some of us still standing. And for those who are not, God bless them and their families. But there are some of us who are still standing. Have to remember that. So, you want to acknowledge what's happening. You want to reframe it and understand it and come to grips with it. You want to, you know, um, accept where you are, because being in denial about where you are and what you're going through is not going to change it. So dig it or ig it. You ig it, it'll come back later to get you. Okay? It'll come back later to get you. And so the fourth thing is, sometimes, we have to sit with ourselves and sweat it out in the gym, or sweat it out mentally. You make the decision. You have more control over the people, places, and things that impact you when they change, over the things that impact you when they change, than anybody else, because it's you that's dealing with you. And the only person that can fix you is you. So work on it. But one of the other things I had to learn how to do was to break it down. What happened? Where did it happen at? How did it happen? And what do I need to do? And sometimes I had to do that, when I was grieving, minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day. Whatever it takes, break it down and take a look at it, because that's how it changes. And here's one of the most important things, if you don't remember anything else: as you hydrate, blueberry water. I love it. I'm not advertising for anybody, but there's blueberry water out there that is absolutely phenomenal, and it's how I get my water in. Blueberry, watermelon, lemon, mint, whatever it takes, I have to add something to it so that I can enjoy it. Hydrate. Moisturize your feet, your hands, and your face, and mind your business. That's what real hydration is. Drink water, eat fruit, moisturize your face, your hands, and your feet, and mind your business. I promise you, you'll be fully hydrated if you do that. Just try it. Number five, one of the most important things is surround yourself with a positive circle. And that circle should be small, but surround yourself with it could be small, but surround yourself with a positive circle. Do not, I repeat, do not sit with those who gossip and lie and bark. Sidebar. When you have any measure of success or pain at weddings or funerals where money is involved, where success is involved, the dogs are going to bark. And sometimes you're going to know those dogs, and other times you won't. But here's what I want you to remember, because Harriet meant what she said, and Harriet was a woman who meant business. I don't care what you hear or who you hear it from. Keep going. Just keep going. Surround yourself with positive people and keep going. Don't let anything, excuse me, allergies, don't let anything or anybody get in your way. No matter how loud they're barking and where the barking comes from: family, friend, foe, the co workers, on the job, off the job, at the board table, building the table. I don't care where the barking comes from. Laser focus and keep going. That's right. Reset that dial and keep going. The other thing I want you to remember that worked for me, and I'm telling you about my experience, strength, and hope. I'm telling you about what worked for me when I was struggling and suffering, when people, places, and things changed, when I was hurting, when I was suffering depression from grief, when I was struggling on a job with people. Some people I knew, some people I didn't know. Remember, I told you about those dogs barking? Some of them will be people you know. When dogs are barking on the job, keep going, and practice self care. And by that, I mean take care of yourself. Get your massage. Get your, see Nate. Nate is selling that hand and salt sea scrub and a body butter, and it's phenomenal. And eventually I'm going to bring him on after Women's History Month to tell you about that, because that stuff works wonders. That's right. Scrub them up. Exfoliate not just your face, your hands, but and feet, but your body. Exfoliate. It makes a difference. It's self-care. Massages are self-care. I don't care if you just stop in and get a 5-minute hands massage and pay for it. Or you have a friend who's good at massaging. Massage your hands. Massage your ears, your neck, your jaws, your shoulders, your back, your feet, your legs. Get a massage. Self-care is not selfish. It's sanity. And sanity is the goal for all of us when people, places, and things change. And when you're at the intersection of having to make a choice between the change or staying the same, practice self care, practice gratitude. When you receive, bad news or you're getting ready to relocate, practice gratitude. Remember all the things that went right. Remember that. So many things go right, but when we're in a wrong situation or we're suffering because of change we don't understand, we can't explain, we can't accept, we didn't prepare for, remember all the stuff that went right. That's called gratitude. Have an attitude of gratitude. I read about this stuff all the time, and I encourage you because encouraging you encourages me. Have an attitude of gratitude. These are the things that work for me, and I've had some pretty tough times. Your positive circle is going to make all the difference in the world. You can't be with people who are constantly struggling and not making change. That means their internal GPS is failing. That means they're at the intersection of change or stay the same, and they're staying the same. You know how you want to tell that people are staying the same? Listen to them. They're talking about the same things over and over and over again. And when you say you're at the intersection, you're at the intersection. You can do something different. You can change. You can do something different. Ask them, what have you done to change what's impacting you in a negative way? Just ask the question. I had to ask myself when I was struggling with grief, when I was struggling with a bad relationship, when I was struggling with family, friends, foe, co-workers, people in the street who think they know me and don't, people who think they know about you. I was struggling with that until I asked myself, what are you doing to change the game in that area? For you, not for them, for you. What are you doing for you? What are you doing to make it better for you? What are you doing to ensure that your mental health and your well-being is in good shape? What are you doing for you? What does your circle look like? So these are questions. What does my circle look like when I'm in a time of change of people, places, and things, when I'm hurting, when I'm suffering, when I'm experiencing some depression, when I think that nothing's going right? What does your circle look like? I'm going to encourage you. Take a look at your circle. Take a look at the people you're surrounding yourself with. Because whether you accept it or reject it, the people you surround yourself with get inside. They get up here because you're listening to them. You're hearing them on a regular basis. So I'm going to ask you to take a pledge today as part of the impact of people, places, and things changing, as part of a job that drives you insane, as part of people who drive you insane. You have those people that you love, but you can be around them and they make you nuts because every time you're around them, they're complaining. Here's the pledge. Take a pledge for yourself and your own well being. Look at your circle. Take a pledge to look at your circle. Take a pledge to commit to sitting with what you're going through so that you understand it. Because if nothing else happens, when you're experiencing people, places, and things that change, and you are at the intersection of staying the same or changing as a result of it, whether it's good, bad, or ugly, take a look at it. Sit with it. Because if nothing else happens, you're going to discover your truth. If you'll open your heart and mind to it, you will. You'll discover who and what you are and what you're made of. One thing I know is I'm intolerant of foolishness, and I don't suffer fools lightly. I don't. That's me. I know who I am. I don't hate anybody, but I hate chaos. I hate chaos. Bring it to my door and watch me close it quickly. I learned that. So examine your circle. Learn to sit with where you are in the people, places, or change things of things. When they change, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, learn to sit with that. If it doesn't work well for you, sweat it out. Go to the gym, work out. The best exercise I ever did. Can't do it anymore because of, some personal reasons. But the best thing I ever did was learn to box and hit the bag. Hitting that bag saved a lot of people I had to deal with on a regular basis. And I'm not naming any names. I'm just telling you, saved a lot of people because sometimes the frustration is so great just getting in the gym, in any gym, with any trainer who has a bag and learning to hit that bag properly and release that tension is a whole new world. So sweat it out or sit with it. Sweat it out mentally or sweat it out physically. Whatever you choose, make sure it works for you and in your best interest. Protect your circle. You can't let everybody into your circle. You can't. If you do, you're going to die in that circle. Trust me, you will die on that hill of a huge circle of multiple people. If people aren't living like you're living, this is the last thing I want you to remember about people, places, and things changing and being at the intersection of changing or staying the same. If you don't do something different when you're going through things, you're going to continue to go through. Don't complain about it. Do something about it. That's what works for me. My life is not perfect. I go through changes. I have situations that don't always work to my favor. I've been in situations that haven't always worked to my favor. But here's what I know for sure. I know who my circle is. I know what they do. I know how to surround myself. I know how to practice self care. I know how to take a look at where I'm at in the situation that I'm dealing with. And I learned all of these things because I went through these things. Life ain't easy. Everybody goes through changes. Everybody, I don't care how good it looks. Everybody goes through changes. Remember that. You're not in this alone. And through those changes will come the truth of who you are if you'll sit down and work with it. Take your time, get it right. Just be who you are. Do what you do. Watch your circle. You'll be in big circles where you can learn a lot of things, but that's not your inner circle. Protect your inner circle. Protect your heart, protect your mind, your heart especially, because everything flows from it. Remember, people, places, and things change. And when you are at the intersection of that, make a decision about whether you are good and comfortable in staying the same or whether you have to make that right and make that change. You decide. You have the most power in that. Don't give that power to anybody else. My name is Annette. Thank you for joining me here tonight. I want to shout out Damon and Mello and all of my friends who will watch this podcast later. I'm coaching you for you. I'm your host, and I am thankful to be here with you tonight. Have a good evening, and thank you for joining me. Hydrate. Remember, hydrate, moisturize your feet, hands, and face, and mind your business.